What's up guys, it's Henry here again and welcome back to our channel. Now, one of the questions that I get from growing embroiderers on a daily basis is if a two-head machine can embroider two different items at the same time. Now, granted, yes, I've asked that same question when I first got started, so that's why I want to kind of clarify for you guys what exactly that answer is and some considerations that you might want to consider when investing into multi-heads. Now, just a quick background, the reason why this question comes up constantly is because people that are expanding in their embroidery production always want to keep the best of both worlds. They want to have the flexibility of being able to do multiple items and different items at the same time while increasing their overall production. So naturally, they're going to wonder, hey, if I invest in a multi-head machine, maybe a two-head machine to expand my production, can I still do two different items at the same time? Would it allow me to have that functionality? Because let's face it, you only have several options to choose from in terms of increasing your overall production. The first option, just as I mentioned, is to invest in a multi-head machine. Now, not all multi-heads function in the same way, so the answer might not be as straightforward as you think in terms of just investing in a multi-head machine, but I'll clarify some of that for you. Then you obviously have the option of adding on another single-head machine to complement your first one. Either way, you're doubling your production, right? So really, what's it gonna be? Investing in a multi-head machine or investing in several single-head machines to increase your production? The answer is really going to depend on several factors. So the three major factors that you have to consider when deciding to invest in a multi-head machine are broken down as follows. The first one is what types of orders or the variety of orders that you plan on taking on. The second one is how much can you afford? What is your budget? And last but not least, what is the size of space that you have to actually put this new equipment? But more on all these three factors in detail later on in the video. Now, I know at first the choices might be confusing, but it doesn't have to be, because I'm going to explain to you all the considerations that you should keep in mind for your business and finally clear up the untold truths behind investing in a multi-head machine for your embroidery business. All right, let's jump right in. Alright, so as I mentioned before, not all multi-heads are created equal. What do I exactly mean by that? What do you mean? That's because these typical multi-head machines are designed for embroiderers that embroider in bulk, meaning the same exact design on multiple items in a single order. For that reason, each head, even though it's a multi-head, runs on the same control system using one single control panel, and it runs on the same axis so that it can control multiple heads at the same time. All the heads perform the same movement, therefore the same design is embroidered on every single head. This really increases and maximizes the efficiency because you don't have to program the same design on multiple machines and therefore save that time and control all the heads with just one input. Not to mention, because you're embroidering 2, 4, 8, 12 items at the same time with these typical multi-head machines, you are going to maximize your output and double, quadruple, or even 12x your output in one given run versus a single head machine. So then going back to the question I posed in the beginning of what everyone asked me, can multi-heads embroider different items, different designs at the same time? It would seem like with this type of structure, you won't be able to do that, right? Well, this is where it gets interesting because there's actually another type of multi-head machine called a dual function multi-head where you can elect to embroider the same design on different heads at the same time or choose to embroider different designs on different heads at the same time. So to answer the question, can a two-head machine or a multi-head machine embroider different designs at the same time? Technically, yes. But here's where it gets good. So while it seems that a dual function multi-head machine is the best alternative to keep your flexibility of embroidering different designs at the same time while also increasing your production volume, there are some factors that are not being considered that the pros won't tell you. So I'm here to tell you some of those considerations so you keep those in mind. So listen up good.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
So while on the surface level, a dual function multi-head machine seems like the best alternative to both keep your flexibility of embroidering different items at the same time, different designs at the same time, and increasing your production volume, there are a number of factors that aren't being considered that the pros won't tell you. The first point is you can achieve that same flexibility and results with two single head machines. After all, the main purpose of investing in a multi-head machine is to increase your production volume. So if you keep that philosophy in mind, what's the point of getting a two-head machine if your main purpose is doing two different designs at the same time? You can just do that with two single heads. After all, that's what those single heads are there for, right? They can do these small batch runs, small samples, and embroider as many variety of different items and different designs at the same time. So why would you invest in a multi-head machine when you can achieve that with multiple single head machines? The second thing to consider is that two single heads actually have more portability than a dual function multi-head machine. If your main goal is to accommodate the variety of orders that you get and to be able to embroider different designs at the same time while maintaining a high production output, again, you can achieve that with two single heads versus a dual function two head, and you get the flexibility of it being portable, because let's face it, you can move the two single heads anywhere you want in your shop, but with a dual function two head, you can't separate the two heads because it's attached. All it is it can embroider two different items, two different designs on either of the two heads, but you can't physically separate the two heads. So think about the space limitations and where you're gonna put that two head in your shop.
Dad, that thing wouldn't fit in our yard.
Not going in our yard, Russ. It's going in our living room.
Because with two single heads, you can put them each in a different corner and it can still achieve the same thing of a flexibility in your designs as well as increasing your production volume. You can also take one of the single heads to a fair or a trade show while having the other one in your shop, but you can't really do that with a dual function two head. And the third and last factor to consider is obviously your budget and cost. In fact, a dual function two-head machine will cost the same, if not more, than two single head machines in certain circumstances. For example, a typical standard two-head machine from Ricoma costs less than two single head machines from us. In fact, the more heads you get, the less it costs per head. For a typical two-head machine from Ricoma, for the second head, if you do the math and the breakdown, you're actually getting a second head for about 50% off. No, really, 50% off. The reason why a dual function two-head machine, one where, again, you can embroider two different designs at the same time, costs more, is because it runs on two separate systems within one machine. Because let's face it, you cannot actually embroider two different items at the same time without it being controlled by two separate systems. So in essence, dual function two-head machine actually runs on two separate axes and two separate control panels and control systems so that you can control two different areas, therefore it can embroider two different types of designs. Now, two separate axis systems and two different control systems is going to add up on the electronic and mechanical costs of the machine. Therefore, that's already baked into the price. If all that seemed a little bit confusing, think about it like this. Imagine a computer is able to control what your machine does, which is essentially what the onboard control panel does on these computerized embroidery machines. So if I click a button on the computer, it will tell the machine what to do. But if you want to do two different designs, if you want to embroider two different designs at the same time, one computer cannot control both parts of the machine to tell it to do something differently. Therefore, I have to add another computer to be able to control the other part, and therefore it seems like two different single heads. Adding that extra computer system and the relevant components that control the other part of the machine itself is going to add up in that cost, and therefore you see a higher price tag for a dual function two-head machine. All right, so with that said, you guys, I'm actually gonna give you two extra bonus pro tips on what to consider when deciding to invest in a multi-head machine. The first pro tip is when you're expanding and you're thinking about getting a multi-head, make sure you keep your single head around for small samples and small batch orders. A typical setup would be for your 2 or 4 head or 6 head machine to be running these bulk orders while your single head is still running one-off orders, small samples, or maybe doing some testing for clients. The example I always give is if you're doing an order for a soccer team, for example. The team name is going to be the same, so you want to embroider that on the multi-head machine because they're all going to be embroidering the same design. Now for the individual player's name, you want to keep a single head around so you don't have to shut down multiple heads in your multi-head machine to embroider the individual names. That's where the single head becomes really efficient in being able to embroider those individualized and personalized items while your multi-head does the bulk items. Now the second pro tip that I will give you is also a question that I get very frequently, whether a multi-head can have certain heads turned off if I just want to embroider one particular thing. And the answer is yes. Most multi-heads, especially the ones that we have here at Ricoma, can have the functionality and the option of turning off certain heads if you just want to embroider and use 1 or 2 heads of a multi-head machine. So don't worry about your unused heads still embroidering or wasting fabric, or you have to put something on there to keep it running if you just want to use 1 head out of a 2-head machine or 2 heads out of a 4-head machine. However, I would caution you that that's not the best use of your equipment. After all, you invested in a multi-head machine to accommodate bulk orders and large volumes. So why would you want to turn off certain heads just to do these one-off orders? That's why my pro tip number 1 of keeping a single head around to do those one-off orders and samples and testing is going to be a more efficient use of your investment. The best combo is having your multi-head machine running at 100% capacity, doing all of the bulk orders while also keeping your single head on a high capacity to do these individualized and personalized items, as well as samples and testing. All right, that's it for us for today, guys. So if you're thinking about investing in a multi-head machine to kind of grow your embroidery business and keep up with the order volume, consider the following things. What types of orders and what types of designs are you getting? Are they more personalized, or are they these bulk orders and volume orders? That will determine whether you go with another single head or add on multiple single heads, or go with a multi-head machine that will accommodate those needs. Don't fall into the trap of chasing after cool new features like a dual function multi-head machine, or chasing after these shiny new objects, because you can achieve the same thing with 2 single heads and save yourself some money. Not to mention, you gain the portability and the access of 2 single heads being in multiple places versus a dual function machine that might seem good on the surface, but can bring you problems in terms of portability and size and not being as flexible in those areas. You also want to consider the fact that a dual function machine might seem good on the surface, but at the same time, because of the different moving parts and having another set of computer and electronics and different components to control that other portion of the machine, because it's essentially 2 machines combined into one, there's going to be some complexities and issues that might happen with those different moving parts. So I hope that this information was helpful for you in breaking down what is a typical multi-head embroidery machine versus a quote-unquote dual function multi-head embroidery machine, so that you don't fall for something that might just sound cool without actually knowing what it does and the potential complications and considerations that come along with that. All right, so with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, do me a big favor and take literally 2 seconds to smash that like button, give it a quick thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, make sure to smash that subscribe button and the bell icon while you're at it. If you want to get more tips like this, make sure to follow myself and the team down below on all these different social media channels so that you can get the latest news and keep up to date with what's happening in the world of decorated apparel. We are especially active on Facebook, on Instagram, and on TikTok, so if you want to check out some of those videos there, make sure to follow us there. Finally, make sure to join our free Facebook group, Embroidery and Custom Apparel Mastery. This is completely free, and there's now over 20,000 embroiderers and custom apparel decorators in there sharing tips and tricks just like this one, so you can be really immersed in this industry. I put that link in the description below so you can check it out there, and I'm very active in the group myself, so you can chat with me there as well and ask any questions. With that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.